Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
Obviously, weather is our big story of the day. Temperatures heating up yet again. The humidity is doing the same, making it feel a lot hotter than it actually is. A live look over downtown Detroit right now, thanks to our friends in Windsor. The temperature is currently 75 degrees, already starting to feel a little warmer than it actually is. And temperatures over there, a little bit cooler in Ann Arbor, about 73 degrees, but it's feeling closer to 80. And in Mount Clemens, we're hovering about 75 degrees, but again, also feeling like it is in the 80s. Welcome to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you for watching us here on Local 4 Plus. Click on Detroit and streaming on YouTube. If you have to head out the door, I get it. Go ahead, do your thing, but take us with you, shall you? Right? Click on Detroit app, launch it, just listen to us like you would any of your favorite podcasts. Lots of conversations happening today. As we just mentioned, it's going to get hot and sticky. The heat index here in much of Detroit is going to say it's feeling more like 100 degrees. Ashley Barrissey is tracking the temperatures and potential for some pop-up storms coming up in just a bit. Plus, it is a hidden danger, and you can pick it up at gas stations and party stores. Priya's going to join me to have a conversation about an herbal supplement that can mimic the effects of opioids, and it's catching the attention of the FDA. And a new study is out about kids and cell phones. We're going to talk to a doctor of developmental and behavioral pediatrics about when is the right time, the right age to get a cell phone for your kids. In fact, that smartphone study is leading to our question of the day. How old should kids be when they get a cell phone? 3 options to choose from here: 8 to 10, 10 to 12, or 12 to 14. Currently, 50% of you are saying either 10 to 12 or 12 to 14. Nobody is in an 8 to 10 category. If you'd like to vote and be a part of this conversation, you can either scan the QR code there that is on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can go to clickondetroit.com/vote. Share your opinions. You can also comment on our YouTube page about what kids or what age kids should be before they get their cell phones. Let's take a look at some of your headlines here on a Monday morning, starting with breaking news. Detroit police looking for a man who shot 4 people, killing one of them on Detroit's west side. This happened at a gas station on Puritan near the Lodge in Livernois, not far from the University of Detroit Mercy. We know one man was killed and 3 women were hurt. We should be getting more information from DPD throughout this morning. We'll keep you updated. Also right now, police are looking for a gunman who shot and killed a 6-year-old boy in a drive-by shooting. This one happened last night on Anglin Street near East McNichols on Detroit's east side. Police say that shell casings were found scattered across the neighborhood, and they are looking for a black car, a red Jeep, and possibly a 3rd vehicle. The bullets hit a house where the boy was inside. Again, he was killed in that drive-by shooting by a stray bullet.
Citizens of Detroit don't tolerate this, especially when it comes to babies, young people being shot. So I'm pretty sure that the tips will start to flow immediately to the person who did this, the persons involved. Do yourself a favor. If you didn't pull that trigger, you need to be telling us right now who did, because a baby is dead.
Well, police say the shooter or shooters used a rifle. We'll continue to follow the story as updates come in. Let's take a live look over in Traverse City this morning. That's where the man accused of going on a stabbing spree at a Walmart could face a judge either today or tomorrow. The man facing serious charges, including terrorism. No word yet on the motive behind this attack. Noel Friel is in Traverse City for us.
42-year-old Bradford James Gilley of Afton, Michigan is now facing 1 count of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. In an update yesterday, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff saying investigators still haven't been able to determine a clear motive, and all of the victims appear to have been attacked at random. The sheriff also thanking a group of customers in the store that intervened during the attacks. In this video that surfaced online, you can see the moments those bystanders, including one CPL holder, held the suspect at gunpoint until police arrived. The Grand Traverse County prosecutor said although the victims were attacked at random, prosecutors are pursuing that terrorism charge, saying these kinds of random acts are meant to create fear in communities. Here's what she had to say.
Something that is done not to individual people, not to those individual victims. Obviously, they are most affected, but it is, we believe, in some ways done to affect the entire community.
In its latest update, Munson Healthcare said just 2 of those victims are still in critical condition, 8 are in fair condition, and 1 has been released and is now recovering at home. Gilly is expected to be arraigned on those charges today or tomorrow, and if convicted, he faces up to life in prison. Reporting in Traverse City, Noelle Friel, Local 4.
Noel, thank you much. The man accused of killing his 13-year-old niece will be in front of a judge today on a separate case. Jarvis Butts is charged in the sexual assault of a 12-year-old girl back in 2013. We don't know too much about this case, though we're expecting to learn some more today. Butts is also awaiting trial for the murder of Naziah Harris, his ex-girlfriend's niece. He's accused of killing Harris after finding out she was pregnant with his child. Harris disappeared in January of 2024, was never seen again. That trial is set to begin on Friday. Well, now to a conversation we know is happening in so many of your homes. When is the right time to get your kid a cell phone? What age is appropriate? Well, a new study says you should not do it before they turn 13. Researchers analyzed questionnaire results from more than 100,000 young adults between the ages of 18 and 24. They found kids who were given cell phones at an earlier age were associated with worsening mental health for every year of ownership before the age of 13. That included more suicidal thoughts, worse emotional regulation, lower self-worth and detachment from reality. That was especially true among girls. The study attributes much of it to social media use, cyberbullying, and poor sleep. So this is an important conversation that we wanted to dive into more. So joining us now is Dr. Tiffany Munzer. She specializes in developmental and behavioral pediatrics at CS Mott Children's Hospital. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. I think a lot of parents are going to try to understand the whys behind this. You kind of broke it down there a little bit, but can you kind of explain more what the research showed on the effects of having a cell phone earlier and why?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. It's really a delight to be here. And this study examined about, as you said, 100,000 children, and it was a correlational study. And so it's really hard to tell, if it was the chicken or the egg, if potentially there were some underlying reasons that might not have been measured about who that child is, that they may have received a cell phone a little bit earlier. And so I think one of the important things to remember is that children are not just living in a vacuum where they're interacting on their phones. There's also a lot of social and contextual factors that are really important, whether or not that child has access to safe play opportunities outside of the home, if they have access to libraries or third spaces that really could help shape their social emotional experiences, what kind of school system they're involved in. And so these are also really important things to consider. And families are increasingly growing up in a world that is really steeped in digital technologies. And a lot of these technologies use a lot of persuasive design that's really going to compete for kids' attention. So there's a lot of sophisticated behavioral tactics embedded in technologies to help keep kids playing. And the algorithms really driving their exposures to specific content and commercializing their time and data, which might just not match with the way that kids move through the world, especially these younger kids who might not have as much of the impulse control capacity to be able to avoid some of this content. And so those kids, specifically these younger kids, might need a little bit more parental support if they're having access to these digital devices, these mobile devices, a little bit earlier on.
So is it the content that they're exposed to, or is it the wide open world of social media and the web where they can be influenced by bullies or somebody even looking to do more harm?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And we know that the content is super important. And so this study actually examined, was it the actual mobile device, the age of mobile device, or was it also some of the content that they were exposed to? And you're right that cyberbullying was made up for some of that difference in kids' outcomes. And so it was some of the content that they were getting exposed to. And also it was some of the other things that we know are really important for children's development. For instance, the mobile device was making it harder for them to get the right amount of sleep at night. And we know that really adequate sleep is so important for kids' social emotional outcomes, including their mental well-being. And the other thing that they found was that the mobile device was really disrupting, making it harder for families to connect with each other. And so that's also another thing that's really important for kind of child well-being and family well-being.
Yeah. So obviously you focused a lot on mental health here. Have you seen a correlation between time spent on the phone or the age at which they received it tied to social skills, person-to-person skills?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And mental well-being consists of so many different things. There's your social and emotional development, and your ability to connect with each other. And so this study in particular examined a lot of different aspects of mental well-being. And so at the crux of it, your ability to connect one-on-one to other people is really tied and linked to mental well-being also.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Munzer, we're going to take a very short 90-second break. When we come back, I want to get some of your advice to parents on what they should be doing when they're giving cell phones to their kids. So we'll be back in 90 seconds.
That's great. Thank you.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. We're talking to Dr. Tiffany Munzer. She specializes in developmental and behavioral pediatrics at CS Mott Children's Hospital. Doctor, thank you again. We've got a poll on our screen asking parents what age they think is appropriate for cell phones. The age category of 10 to 12 currently has 40%. 12 to 14 has 60%. So in our very scientific poll, most parents are agreeing with you. I hope you can see my air quotes there in over Zoom. I guess my question is, for so many parents whose kids are involved in a lot of after-school activities or sports, other extracurriculars, sometimes the cell phone becomes a necessity. So if you have to give one at a younger age, what's your advice?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the bottom line is that it depends so much on the family and their needs, and so there are a lot of different devices, and so you can get something that's a little bit more simple, that doesn't have access to as much of the content that might be trickier for kids to navigate, especially when they're younger. Like I'm looking at these kind of 8 to 12-year-olds, where they might not need access to social media, but they might need to be able to contact their parents for after school activities. And so getting something a little bit more simple, like a phone, flip phone, or like a dumb phone could be a potential option.
A dumb phone, I like that.
Yeah, that way families don't feel like they have to navigate and this social media kind of territory if their kids are not quite ready for that just yet. And there are also some quizzes that can help guide families. For instance, the American Academy of Pediatrics has a phone readiness quiz with questions like, how is your child able to handle their impulses? How likely are they to come to you as a caregiver or parent for problem solving or support if there's an issue at school? Is your child pretty responsible about things like homework? Are they likely to say sorry if they hurt a friend's feelings? How are they navigating their social world? So some of these things can help guide families around, like, is a phone kind of the right thing to get at this particular time in my child's life?
Interesting. So I wanted to ask your opinion on something. I had a friend whose daughter was having the kind of opposite reactions to not having a phone, and that she was left out of some of the texts and group chats and socialization that was happening amongst her friends because she didn't have a phone. Have you seen that, or I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is, the phone is really how teens are connecting to each other. And so it can be such an important lifeline to social connection. And so getting a phone that has the ability to connect via text or phone calls can be really helpful for some families, while limiting some of the other aspects that can be trickier to navigate, like social media. So again, having like more of a flip phone situation or a phone that's a little bit more locked down. And there are also other kind of like pieces of software that you can embed in the phone so that there's less access or more limited access to social media if kids are not quite ready for that just yet.
I'm a big fan of enacting the screen downtimes and time limits on apps, which have been great for my kids. One last question for you, Doctor. So the recommendation coming out of your study is that 13 is kind of the perfect age to maybe start getting a phone. What is it about 13 where a kid's mind is developed enough where it's appropriate?
Oh, that's a really great question. And this study, I didn't personally conduct this study, but I'm commenting on it. And 13 just seems to be a little bit more of a time when kids have a little bit more development of their prefrontal cortex, and they gain a little bit more of this awareness of more logical reasoning that helps them problem solve in their day to day. And so I wonder if that might be why that time period was an inflection in the study, that they found that 13 tended to be a better time to get a digital device, just because they have a little bit more of these skills that come online.
And maybe, I'm not trying to put words in any researcher's mouth, but maybe at 13, kids are somewhat apt to talk to their mom or dad or a guardian or a loved one about if they see something online or somebody is saying or doing something that might not be appropriate, and they can't be influenced as much as, say, a 10 or 11-year-old.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think you really got it.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Munson, thank you so much for your time, and sorry for giving you the credit for the study. Next time, just take it because you're on TV. So say, yeah, it was my study, no problem.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. This is a delight.
Thank you. Have a great day. When we come back, Ashley's going to check on that hot and humid forecast here in Metro Detroit. Plus, let's take a live look in Greece this morning. This area not only seeing extreme heat temperatures rising over in Europe, it's actually causing some popular tourist sites to shut down because of it. I'll take you there next. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. You can see the graphics all turning red now because we have extreme heat, not only here, but across the world. In Greece right now, this iconic tourist spot, Acropolis, closed to visitors because of the extreme heat. Areas in Greece reaching up to 114 degrees. The Acropolis and other popular spots are shutting down between noon and 5, which are the hottest hours of the day. Greece is just one of many countries in Europe dealing with incredibly hot temps and high risk for wildfires. Back here at home, a similar situation, no wildfire risk, at least at home, but heat and humidity a problem. Ashley?
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we are starting off this work week with a forewarned weather alert due to the high heat and humidity. In fact, a heat advisory has been issued for all of southeastern Michigan, and that is not set to lift until 10 o'clock this evening and really braces much of the lower peninsula. In fact, well, we're in good company when it comes to those heat alerts because they drape a good portion of the nation. So weather headlines. I mean, obviously the first and foremost, heat. 90s returning today. Good chance that we're back into the 90s tomorrow with those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. Now, we do have some isolated storm chances today and tomorrow. A little more prominent for your Tuesday, and that's why we are waiting to see if that heat advisory will get extended, because if we do get more of those storms popping tomorrow during the heat of the day, well, then that will hinder those temperatures from reaching the 90s and those triple-digit feels-like temperatures like today. But your hourly forecast for this afternoon, hanging tight in the 90s all the way through really the evening. 93 the forecasted high. By 10 o'clock we're still at about 84. Mostly sunny skies, but let's look at that heat index forecast because we will top out right around 100, closer to about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then tomorrow, this is a good illustration of what I'm talking about as to why there's still some uncertainty with whether or not we'll get a heat advisory tomorrow, because if we were to see showers and storms develop like this model would be picking up, that would drop those feels-like temperatures into the 70s and 80s. If we don't get that rain, well, then we're looking at 90s to right around 100 for those heat indices. So it's that uncertainty that just keeps us right on the cusp there. Here's an hour-by-hour look at the model data. So today's storms look to stay farther west, and they would be non-severe. And so that's why we don't anticipate that really impacting our afternoon highs. But tomorrow, 5 o'clock, well, now we have a little more activity in southeastern Michigan taking us through the evening, and that's why we have the chance of seeing those temperatures slide a bit. But for today, just plan for it to be in the 90s for that first pitch at Comerica Park. Tigers starting homestand with the Diamondbacks, 6:40 first pitch, and we'll have a slight chance for a shower, but I think we dodge it. 84 by game's end. It'll be a warm and muggy one. Next weather maker will be this cold front, and so that'll bring us some relief finally. But before we get there, we do have rain chances midweek. So Wednesday, I think we have a better chance for more widespread shower and non-severe storm development. Thursday, bulk of this activity looks to just kind of hover right along the state line. So I'm not going to rule out a chance for a shower or storm to our south on Thursday, but most of us will be staying dry. We're peeling back those clouds, and the temperatures will be falling. Upper 70s for your Thursday and Friday. Low 80s is where we should be this time of year, so pretty seasonal Saturday and Sunday ahead. And we're going to pair that with some sunshine heading into the weekend.
All right, Ashley, thank you much. Experts call it a hidden danger. Priya is going to join me here as they're investigating the product that kids can get their hands on that many parents don't even know about. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Right now, Detroit police looking for a gunman who shot and killed a 6-year-old boy in a drive-by shooting. This happened last night on England Street near East McNichols on Detroit's east side. Police say they found shell casings all over the neighborhood, and they are looking for a black car, a red Jeep, and maybe even a third vehicle. The bullets hit a house where the boy was inside. He was killed. Again, police looking for the gunman responsible. Well, if you're on television right now, why don't you switch over to Local 4 Plus for another 90 minutes of conversations. We're going to talk to Priya about a danger that's hidden in plain sight, an herbal supplement that is now catching the attention of the FDA. Plus, an update on that new DCFC stadium that's supposed to be in Southwest Detroit. And at 9 o'clock, some concerns when it comes to booking your next Delta flight. They're not going to use AI to set some ticket prices. How will that go? And Ashley has your hot and humid forecast as well. Keep it right here on Local 4. That's a lot of rain. It's way too much rain.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
And that forewarned weather alert because of the heat and humidity. A live look at Metro Airport right now. There's actually a heat advisory in effect for parts of Metro Detroit. Temps are rising, and that advisory is issued because of all that excessive heat. If you're looking to escape the heat, you might have to travel a long distance because there's a good chunk of the country under these advisories. The heat isn't just here at home. A live look at Missouri, where more than 170 million people across the country under heat alerts this morning. This is that live look at St. Louis. It's about 85 degrees there right now, but already feeling closer to 90. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Ashley will have our forecast in just a few minutes, including a chance for some pop-up storms. But first, let's get to your headlines on a Monday morning. A live look in Traverse City. That's where a man is accused of going on a stabbing spree at a Walmart, and he could be in court today. That man is facing serious charges, including one federal count of terrorism. Right now, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff says they are still trying to figure out why he was attacking people at random on Saturday night. It appears all the victims attacked were randomly targeted. Yesterday, we got an update on the conditions of all 11 victims.
Our trauma team was alerted prior to their arrival, and this involved a multidisciplinary mobilization of clinical resources, but also support resources for our clinical team. The initial triage, as I think you heard yesterday evening, there were 6 patients who were in critical condition and 5 patients who were in severe condition at that time. I'm happy to report 1 patient has been treated and released. Now we have 10 remaining patients, 2 who remain in serious condition, and the others have progressed to fair condition.
Well, again, that suspect, Brad Gilley, is expected to be arraigned today or tomorrow. He is facing up to life in prison. Well, experts are calling it a hidden danger. It's something people can get their hands on at gas stations and party stores. We're talking about kratom. You've probably never heard of it before, but it's an herbal supplement that can mimic the effects of an opioid. Now a highly potent version is getting the attention of the FDA. Priya Mann is live with us this morning. Priya, it sounds like kids can get their hands on this stuff pretty easily.
Yeah, it's available at gas stations and party stores, and it's concerning because it's unregulated and growing in popularity. Officials first became aware of it from recovery homes. People who were battling addiction to opioids were showing symptoms of being high, but when they took a drug test, it came back clear. So this is something that's very dangerous for those who are in recovery, but especially for kids as well. And now there's several police departments in Macomb County that are taking action. Does that look familiar? It's called kratom. Have you heard of it before?
No, never.
Have you seen these at gas stations?
I haven't seen them personally, but I heard about them. But yeah, I heard it's not good news.
Kratom is an herbal substance that's unregulated and potentially dangerous. It can mimic both opioids and stimulants depending on how much you take.
There are some adverse side effects. It can cause muscle pain, vomiting, seizures. Long-term use can affect your liver.
And as the products become more readily available, officials in Macomb County are sounding the alarm.
We're seeing it in certain gas stations and convenience stores. It's in most communities.
We went to several gas stations and smoke shops in Macomb County and found kratom pills, teas, and powders. Most were behind the counter, and clerks said you had to be 21 years old to buy it.
They've been like in their 30s, 20s, and they come in and they buy several at a time. I mean, I've said usually 4, so I mean, they go on pretty fast because we keep filling it, and I've gone through probably 8 boxes since May.
But CARE of Southeastern Michigan, a substance use prevention and recovery nonprofit, says kids can access kratom products.
So we're seeing it in front of the counter. Cashiers aren't asking for an ID to monitor age requirements. And since there are no age requirements in Michigan as of now, that's legal for them to do.
There's also a more powerful kind of kratom flooding the market.
So 7-OH is 7-hydroxymidogrania, and that is a highly concentrated version of kratom.
It's 40 times more potent and not clearly labeled.
And with that, we're seeing an increase in psychotic episodes with adults, and especially with adolescents. If they experience that psychotic episode, their brains don't recover from that, and they're susceptible to that for the rest of their life.
People in recovery from opioid use can be especially vulnerable.
It is shown to mitigate the symptoms of opioid withdrawal. However, a lot of people may not know the addictive potential of it.
Earlier this month, the FDA issued a warning to companies illegally marketing products containing 7-OH, saying, quote, "This action reflects the agency's growing concern around novel, potent opioid products being marketed to U.S. consumers and sold online and in smoke shops, gas stations, and corner stores."
I think that's a really big step forward, that, you know, it's on their radar. It's something that they're aware of. And having the warning from the FDA, I think, sort of substantiates some of the advocacy that the community groups are doing.
In the absence of federal or state regulations, local police departments and city councils are taking action in Macomb County. There have been efforts in Clinton Township and in the city of Warren to regulate the use and sale of kratom products.
Because it's not regulated, it might not be seen as so dangerous.
This is something that we definitely felt merited conversations with our local legislative body, in this case our city council, and they were super receptive, And hopefully we can get an ordinance on the books soon, which can help us get this under control.
Yeah, Warren police hoping those ordinances come sooner rather than later. There's also been a grassroots effort to get parents informed about the dangers of kratom with informational pamphlets just like this. This is coming from the Chippewa Valley Coalition for Youth and Families, putting out some information that parents definitely need to know. If you are struggling with any type of addiction, maybe you're developing a habit to kratom, resources are available, and we have that information up on clickondetroit.com. Reporting live, I'm Priya Mann. I'll send it back to you, Nick.
So, Priya, are there any efforts to regulate this in a more controlled way at maybe the state level? Obviously, the feds have the FDA, but could more be done if this really is a growing problem?
So there are some efforts on the local level. I think it's starting to get more attention and work its way up. Of course, the FDA issuing this warning as well to these manufacturers certainly heightens the awareness. But I know in Clinton Township, there was an effort there on a very local level to try and regulate it. Again, in Warren, they're trying to get an ordinance passed there. Police there are telling me that the city attorney is looking at any possible ordinance to kind of regulate it. It was also interesting when we were talking to some of the gas station clerks. They were like, well, you have to be 21 and over. But our health producer had a really good point. She said, well, who's saying you have to be 21 and over if it's not regulated? And therein lies the problem. It seems to be very much a case-by-case basis. And when it comes to protecting children, you would want some regulations in place.
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to advertise it here, but is this something that the kids know about? Is it kind of like a growing trend with teens or young adults?
So the awareness is growing. Interesting you mentioned that. When I asked the gas station clerks, I was like, are people coming in asking for kratom? And they said, no, they're asking for name brands. So that's kind of how it's spreading. And I won't give you all of the brands, but once you start to look for it, you do notice them. And I've seen some more that are more prominently displayed. And that's what people are coming in and asking for. So they're not saying kratom, they're saying whatever the brand name is. And I think that's another important point for parents to keep in mind when they're talking to their children about it. They might not even understand that the marketing doesn't say kratom, so that's why you have to have this continuous dialogue.
Okay, that makes sense. Priya, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I've never even heard of it, so I probably should talk to my kids.
Yeah, neither had I.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we're going to take a short 60-second break. When we come back, we'll look at some of your political headlines, including a look in Scotland right now, where President Trump is making deals with the EU, and today it's the UK. That's next. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, a live look at the stock futures board this morning. It's a big week for investors as they get ready for more big tech earnings, a highly anticipated Fed meeting, and important trade talks. Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Apple are all set to report their earnings, and their news could shake up the market, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. Also happening this week, we're going to get the second quarter earnings from Ford and Stellantis, and the Fed meeting is happening on Wednesday. Investors will be watching to see if Chairman Jerome Powell drops any hints about the future of interest rates changing. Plus, President Trump meeting with European leaders this week. A big tariff deadline is set for August 1st. That's the same day we'll get the July jobs report. The market opens for the week at 9:30, so there is so much happening that could affect the market. Let's take a live look in Scotland this morning. President Trump there to dedicate a new golf course to his mother. He's also making time for tariff negotiations during his trip, holding a meeting with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. According to the White House, the president will look to refine a trade deal the two signed last month. This comes as the...
We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed.
We have a deal. We have a trade deal between the two largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. It's 15% tariffs across the board, all inclusive.
So this framework was agreed on between President Trump and the EU on Sunday. That 15% EU tariff will be taking effect on Friday. Getting a live look over the Capitol now this morning. The House may be in summer recess, but lawmakers are still fighting over the release for the Epstein documents. The signs of mounting pressure appeared last week with the top majority House Oversight Committee voting to subpoena the DOJ for files related to Epstein. Then on Thursday, the AG Todd Blanche questioned Epstein's accomplishments. He questioned her accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. And now it's the division of Republican lawmakers over those documents that are intensifying.
We don't want to hurt the victims. We're doing this for the victims. I think it's just something that they're hiding behind. And at the end of that statement, I heard something about conspiracy theories or something like that. Look, they're the ones, it's the president's own attorney general, FBI director, and children who said that, and vice president, who said that these files need to be released. We're just trying to hold their feet to the fire.
Let me be absolutely clear, as we have been from the very beginning. House Republicans insist upon the release of all credible evidence and information related to Epstein in any way. But we are also insisting upon the protection of innocent victims. And our concern is that the Massey and Khanna discharge petition is reckless in the way that it is drafted and presented. It does not adequately include those protections.
We're going to have to wait 5 weeks to see if petition from the House gets votes. The House is in recess until September 2nd. Well, Ashley's going to come back here with a look at your forecast, plus a live look now over Mackinac Island, who is getting another round of national recognition. That's next. Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a live look over a perfect island getaway, Mackinac Island. It was just named in the top 15 of the best islands on the continental United States. It was part of its World's Best Awards. Mackinac came in third behind Mount Desert Island, Maine, and Amelia Island, Florida. This is the fourth year in a row that Mackinac Island has ranked among the top three. The island, of course, touted for its history, charming shops, beautiful trails, scenery. Its unique feature, of course, being no cars and all the chocolate and fudge you could get. Let's talk to Ashley about that hot and humid, sticky forecast that has made us get a heat advisory today. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we are starting off this work week with a forewarned weather alert due to the high heat and humidity. In fact, a heat advisory has been issued for all of southeastern Michigan, and that is not set to lift until 10 o'clock this evening and really braces much of the lower peninsula. In fact, well, we're in good company when it comes to those heat alerts because they drape a good portion of the nation. So weather headlines. I mean, obviously the first and foremost, heat. 90s returning today. Good chance that we're back into the 90s tomorrow with those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. Now, we do have some isolated storm chances today and tomorrow. A little more prominent for your Tuesday, and that's why we are waiting to see if that heat advisory will get extended, because if we do get more of those storms popping tomorrow during the heat of the day, well, then that will hinder those temperatures from reaching the 90s and those triple-digit feels-like temperatures like today. But your hourly forecast for this afternoon, hanging tight in the 90s all the way through really the evening. 93 the forecasted high. By 10 o'clock we're still at about 84. Mostly sunny skies, but let's look at that heat index forecast because we will top out right around 100, closer to about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then tomorrow, this is a good illustration of what I'm talking about as to why there's still some uncertainty with whether or not we'll get a heat advisory tomorrow, because if we were to see showers and storms develop like this model would be picking up, that would drop those feels-like temperatures into the 70s and 80s. If we don't get that rain, well, then we're looking at 90s to right around 100 for those heat indices. So it's that uncertainty that just keeps us right on the cusp there. Here's an hour-by-hour look at the model data. So today's storms look to stay farther west, and they would be non-severe. And so that's why we don't anticipate that really impacting our afternoon highs. But tomorrow, 5 o'clock, well, now we have a little more activity in southeastern Michigan taking us through the evening, and that's why we have the chance of seeing those temperatures slide a bit. But for today, just plan for it to be in the 90s for that first pitch at Comerica Park. Tigers starting homestand with the Diamondbacks 6:40 first pitch, and we'll have a slight chance for a shower, but I think we dodge it. 84 by game's end. It'll be a warm and muggy one. Next weather maker will be this cold front, and so that'll bring us some relief finally. But before we get there, we do have rain chances midweek. So Wednesday, I think we have a better chance for more widespread shower and non-severe storm development. Thursday, bulk of this activity looks to just kind of hover right along the state line. So I'm not going to rule out a chance for a shower or storm to our south on Thursday, but most of us will be staying dry. We're peeling back those clouds, and the temperatures will be falling. Upper 70s for your Thursday and Friday. Low 80s is where we should be this time of year, so pretty seasonal Saturday and Sunday ahead. And we're going to pair that with some sunshine heading into the weekend.
Ashley, thank you. It is a new stadium that is changing a portion of Detroit. Let's take a live look over Corktown this morning. We're going to hear from the co-founder of the DCFC and the progress on building a new soccer stadium right there where the old Southwest Hospital used to be, or still is actually. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. We're here in Corktown where the Detroit City Football Club is building a new soccer stadium. It's happening on the grounds of the former Southwest Detroit Hospital Over on Flashpoint yesterday, Jason Coulthorpe caught up with the founder and CEO of DCFC to get an update on how things are going.
A lot of excitement about the new stadium. I'd like to talk about that. But first, how's the season going currently?
Yeah, the women's season ended, won the division, unfortunately lost in playoffs. The men's season, we're midway through. We're still in a playoff spot. So, looking forward to, finishing strong and getting hopefully a home playoff game like we did last year.
Yeah, it's always an ups and downs of a long season. But when you look at the way people show up and show out to Keyworth every time, it's still such an event there.
Yeah, I mean, last week we had a national broadcast game, full house. It was electric, beautiful atmosphere. Would have loved to have another goal, not to be greedy, but no, it's a really special place we have there, and we're cherishing the moments we still have.
And as we talk about, just like when we always see the highlights of Keyworth and just how rabid the atmosphere is in a good way, as we talk about the new stadium that's coming around the corner, I bet it's the top of mind to say we've got to find a way to transfer that energy of just kind of the organicness of that stadium to the new place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've created a really special place in American soccer, but in particular in Detroit sports, right? And and it's that like fan-centered experience, and whether it's the cost of attending a game to just the organic atmosphere. And so like we've always had the opinion like we're the host of the party, not the life of the party, right? And so when we roll out the stadium design, you'll see that like we're still the only team in North America where those supporters, those people standing and singing the entire game, are still front and center. They're right there at midfield. Like they're part of creating that whole atmosphere in the stadium. Yeah.
Now the new stadium, where do we stand in the process? I know you've hit some we'll call them bumps in the road recently, but where are we at there?
Yeah, I mean, as we speak, there's 12,000 gallons an hour of water being pumped out of the basement.
One of the bumps that I was referring to.
So that's being cleaned, filtered, and now being disposed. And so that's the first step of getting demolition going. And so it looks like we got another week or so of that. But right on the heels of that, we'll have a wrecking ball there at the stadium.
Yeah, for those who don't know, you're filtering it because they found it to be contaminated water in there, correct?
Sure, similar to like Michigan Central or any other project. Yeah.
And of course, there was a tragic finding of a body there. Did that slow the process down, or was that just a tragedy that police have to clean up?
Yeah, obviously, it was a very tragic incident. And it just drives home for us the importance of like dealing with this blight. I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years, and it's a great privilege to have an opportunity to like do something about something that's weighing down the neighborhood. So moving forward.
Which I've read from accounts from neighbors who are just thrilled, dying to get this this eyesore out of the neighborhood, which has been there forever, to be able to welcome in this stadium. Do you have, did it back things up, or are you still on schedule where you want to be? I know you wanted to start construction in the spring of this year, but obviously we've missed that deadline.
Yeah, our goal is to be ready for the 27 season, so excited that we'll get the public approval process going here shortly, and so we're still on track there. So it's always been an aggressive time frame. We're pushing all the architects, every contractor as quickly as possible, but our goal is, to get into this new venue. It's a huge time for soccer, right? We got the World Cup next year, so we want to capitalize on that. But also, it's just time. Like, it's time for us to have a proper venue.
And for Detroiters, too, we talk about connecting. This is going to be a fantastic way to connect so many communities. How do you envision that happening?
So, it's an amazing site right there where 96 and 75 meet. 2 million cars drive by it a week, but you've got Mexican Town and Corktown, 2 regional destinations, and we really have this like couple blocks that we've acquired. There's just a dead area right now, and so it's really envisioning like how that stadium's situated, where it bridges Verner and Michigan Avenue, and for us, we want to create a neighborhood asset. So how is it going to be activated 365, and it's not just a dead zone. So, we're looking at retail and restaurants that are outward facing on 20th Street, so that there's a continuous kind of foot traffic in that whole area.
Very cool. And what sort of things can fans look forward to? Do you have anything up your sleeve that you're willing to unveil just yet, when maybe even before the new stadium comes out?
Oh, around the stadium, we'll be announcing names of partners very shortly, and we'll be kicking off the public approval process. And part of that is like we'll be having listening sessions with those supporters who've been with us to make sure that like they have their say in what it looks like, and that it feels like home to them, same way Cass Tech and Keyworth have in the past.
Yeah, very cool. And what's the feedback you get from the fans who've been with you from the beginning? There's got to be, I guess, probably a little disappointment leaving Keyworth. I just always feel it feels electric. electric when I walk in there. That's why.
Yeah, well, I mean, 2/3 of the people in the stadium still have to use porta johns, right? And like,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, so I think people appreciate Keyworth. I think they're excited for the next chapter.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have been with us for the last 14 years, are kind of the same way we do, kind of pinch themselves like they can't believe the journey that we've been on, and it's one of the most special in American pro sports. And so I think they appreciate being a part of it, and we'll center that story, and we look forward to continuing that.
I always feel like it reminds me of leaving Tiger Stadium to go to Comerica Park, and people are like, we can't possibly, and then they go, wow, this is so awesome. Yes, yeah. Where has this been our entire life?
I'm a romantic who bidded on the old urinals at Tiger Stadium. I miss Tiger Stadium, but now I'm on the other side, and I realize that, I mean, for us to be competitive and sustainable long term, we have to have a different location.
Well, everybody's rooting for you. We can't wait to see it and wait for that to happen. In the meantime, we got a football team to root for.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Jason, thank you for doing that. You can watch Flashpoint at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings or anytime on clickondetroit.com. In the next hour, we're tracking extreme heat. We're also going to go to Metro Airport, where Delta is using AI to determine ticket prices. Lawmakers are concerned about the price to fly. We're also going to Lions training camp, where we're going to hear from the coordinators on how that season is taking shape. And it's time to trade up. We're going to talk to Washtenaw Community College about some great opportunities in welding. Much more coming up in the next hour. Stay with us on Local 4 Live.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
And that forewarned weather alert is because of extreme heat as you head out on this Monday. Prepare for that heat. A live look at downtown Detroit. The entire metro area under a heat advisory from 10 this morning until 10 o'clock tonight, a full 12-hour span. Here's why. Temperatures are in the 90s today, but it will feel more like 100 degrees. We're coming off a hot and humid weekend, and there is more of the same to start your work week. 4-1 meteorologist Ashley Barassi is tracking the temperatures and potential for pop-up storms coming up here. Well, welcome everybody to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. We're going to keep an eye on the big stories developing here in Metro Detroit, across the state and across the country. Here's what conversations we're having over the next hour. New details are emerging about that stabbing in Traverse City. All 11 victims are expected to be okay. We're learning more about the suspect as well, as he could face a judge this afternoon on terrorism charges. What we have dug up about his past. Then we're going to go over to Metro Airport, where artificial intelligence may determine how much you could pay for your next Delta flight and how that could impact ticket prices as a whole. Also, we are now in the second week of Lions training camp. We just heard from the new offensive coordinator, what he's revealing about his relationship with Jared Goff and the special guest expected at training camp today. At 8 o'clock this morning, we had our conversation with a doctor about a new study saying cell phones under the age of 13 is not a great idea for the development of your child. I still want to hear from you about this. Our question of the day is, how old should kids be when they get a cell phone? 8 to 10, 10 to 12, or 12 to 14? Scan that QR code there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, or head to clickondetroit.com/vote to share your opinions with us. You can also comment on our YouTube page about what age kids should be to get their cell phone. Let's take a look at some of your headlines on a Monday morning, starting with breaking news. Detroit police looking for a man who shot 4 people, killing one of them on Detroit's west side. This happened this morning at a gas station on Puritan near the Lodge in Livernois, not far from the University of Detroit Mercy. We know 1 man is dead and 3 women were hurt. We're expecting more information from Detroit police throughout this morning. Also right now, police looking for a gunman who shot and killed a 6-year-old boy in a drive-by shooting. This happened last night on Anglin Street near East McNichols on Detroit's east side. Police say that shell casings were found scattered across the neighborhood. They're looking for a black car, a red Jeep, and possibly a 3rd vehicle. The bullets hit a house where that boy was inside. Again, a stray bullet. He did not survive. Priya Mann is going to join us in the next half hour with more on this tragic story. Let's take a live look in Traverse City this morning, where the man accused of going on a stabbing spree at a Walmart could be facing a judge either today or tomorrow. The man is facing charges including terrorism. Still no idea on what the motive is. Noelle Fryle has been in Traverse City since the story broke, and she joins us with the very latest. Hey, Noelle.
42-year-old Bradford James Gilly of Afton, Michigan is now facing 1 count of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. In an update yesterday, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff saying investigators still haven't been able to determine a clear motive, and all of the victims appear to have been attacked at random. The sheriff also thanking a group of customers in the store that intervened during the attacks. In this video that surfaced online, you can see the moments those bystanders, including one CPL holder, held the suspect at gunpoint until police arrived. The Grand Traverse County prosecutor said although the victims were attacked at random, prosecutors are pursuing that terrorism charge, saying these kinds of random acts are meant to create fear in communities. Here's what she had to say.
Something that is done not to individual people, not to those individual victims. Obviously, they are most affected, but it is, we believe, in some ways done to affect the entire community.
In its latest update, Munson Healthcare said just 2 of those victims are still in critical condition, 8 are in fair condition, and 1 has been released and is now recovering at home. Gilly is expected to be arraigned on those charges today or tomorrow, and if convicted, he faces up to life in prison. Reporting in Traverse City, Noelle Fryle, Local 4.
Noelle, thank you. And we are learning more about Bradford Gilly. Authorities say the 42-year-old may have lived in Grand Traverse County at one point, but they're still not sure why he was there Saturday or why he went to Walmart. Let's also talk about Gilly's past. According to the Detroit News, Gilly's mother told the local paper back in 2007 that he suffered from a serious health condition. Gilly racked up numerous arrests over the years, from assault and battery to public intoxication and domestic violence. Investigators from the latest incident declined to go into detail, but did confirm Gilly has a criminal history.
The suspect, who has been identified as 42-year-old Bradford James Gilly of Afton, Michigan, was arrested and transported to Grand Traverse County Jail, where he will remain pending formal charges and arraignment. Requested charges will be as follows: 1 count of terrorism, 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. Mr. Gilly's history shows prior assaultive incidents as well as controlled substance violations.
A motive has not yet been determined. Additional information gathered indicates that Mr. Gilley had entered Walmart at 4:10 p.m. and remained in the store until the incident occurred.
And we still have a crew in Traverse City today. We're going to bring you the latest updates on local 4 news and click on Detroit.com. Also, make sure to download our app and we can send you alerts when we get all of that new information. Well, let's head over to Metro Airport where there are new concerns about what you're paying when you book a flight on Delta. The airline is starting to use artificial intelligence to set ticket prices. Delta says it plans to use AI to set 20% of its prices by the end of the year. Currently, 3% of the airline's prices are set by AI. Last week, 3 senators sent a letter to Delta raising concerns about privacy and fare increases. For its part, Delta says dynamic pricing has been in use for more than 3 decades based on customer demand. Delta also says AI can adapt to market conditions in real time. In a statement, the airline also said, quote, "There is no fare product Delta has ever used, is testing, or plans to use that targets customers with individualized offers based on personal income or otherwise." So, what does all of this mean for you when you actually try to book a ticket? For that, we're turning to Lindsay Owens. She's the executive director of the economic think tank Groundwork Collaborative. She is also an expert on dynamic pricing powers and price gouging. Thank you so much for joining us. What in the world does this mean?
Oh man, this was a doozy. So a couple of weeks ago, we learned that Delta had partnered with a new artificial intelligence company out of Israel called Fetcher to start piloting some new pricing on Delta plane tickets. Right now, we think that they're using this new technology for about 3% of fares, but they announced that by the end of the year, they want to see this technology rolled out on 20% of tickets. So what does it all mean? Dynamic pricing has been around for decades in the airline industry. This is why it's so frustrating to buy plane tickets. When the number of seats on the plane declines, the price goes up. If you purchase closer to your travel date, you're not sure when you want to leave, or you have to book an emergency flight, you're going to pay more. We've all experienced this. The big concern coming out of the announcement last week was that they may be taking this to a new level. We know from Fetcher's materials on their website that they offer something that looks like truly personalized pricing. So this means that prices would be set not just based on how many seats are left on the plane, but rather that prices would be set potentially based on characteristics of the consumer. So things like your past flight history. If you always travel somewhere for Christmas and they know that, they could potentially ratchet the price up because they know you're probably going to go regardless of the price. So this was the big concern coming out of Delta's announcement with Fetcher. Interestingly, that material on Fetcher's website about personalized pricing has now been removed. And Delta is now denying that they are going to price tickets in this way. But it was a very concerning announcement, and I think a harbinger of what's to come, which is more confusing and opaque pricing for customers who are traveling this summer and into the future.
So is there any chance that we could see some benefits from this, or is this only going to raise prices for us?
Yeah, sure. Of course, the same technology that's being used to very quickly ratchet up prices could also be used to drive them down and offer you discounts. But I'll tell you, if you look at the phone calls that Delta is having with their investors, their earnings calls, what we learned is that mostly what we've been seeing from Fetcher is price hikes. The CEO talked about being able to price $20 and $40 more than they used to. And they also said the results of their pilot with Fetcher have been amazingly favorable in driving up revenues. And so I think the punchline here is that we're much more likely to see fare price increases than discounts when these new technologies are rolled out. But I think we're also much more likely just to see varying prices. One day it's one price, the next day it's another price. It's going to make it harder and harder to comparison shop, harder to plan, because there's going to be no predictability in prices, because AI pricing is going to mean that prices are changing second by second.
So we know because Delta made the announcement, but have you heard any other conversations about other airlines doing something similar?
Yeah, look, companies are rolling out AI to assist with all sorts of things. A couple of months ago, we heard that Hertz was going to be using AI cameras to track for scratches on your rental car. So instead of pulling out that little golf pencil and marking where the scratches are and then coming back and having someone check where the scratches are, they're going to take pictures of your car on the way out and pictures of your car on the way in. Now, this is convenient, right? It's a lot easier to just drive through and get a camera shot taken than it is to have to look around your car. But what we've learned already from these announcements is that there are going to be a lot of false positives. The cameras are sometimes going to see scratches where there aren't scratches. And as a result, consumers are going to be charged for damages that they don't owe. So across the board, AI is going to be assisting companies in all sorts of ways, but it's also going to be tough for consumers as well.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsay, we're going to take a short 90-second break here. When we come back, I want to pick your brain a little bit more.
Okay, great.
Thanks. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Back now with Lindsay Owens, the executive director of the economic think tank Groundwork Collaborative. She's also an expert on dynamic pricing. Lindsay, okay, so obviously AI can be used in almost anything now. Is there anything that we as the consumer can do to maybe trick AI and get a better price?
Yeah, this is a great question. I will tell you, my bias here is that the onus should not be on us as consumers to figure out how to beat the robot. This is why our lawmakers and our policymakers exist, to regulate markets so that we have a level playing field and so that consumers aren't exposed to unfair and deceptive and opaque pricing practices or other consumer practices in the retail setting.
Yeah.
So I really think the job here is for lawmakers in Congress, but also folks at the Federal Trade Commission. This is the entity in Washington that is supposed to regulate consumer practices, to take a close look at artificial intelligence practices and make sure the rules of the road are such that consumers get a fair shake, but frankly also so that companies do too. We don't want the big companies who have access to these technologies snuffing out little companies. We want fair competition in the marketplace, and we want consumers to be able to comparison shop and get a good deal. So I'm not a big fan of putting the onus on consumers, but I think, of course, in the airline setting with pricing, there have always been opportunities to try to get a good deal. You can fly more flexibly. If you're willing to depart a little later than you want or a little earlier than you want, you might be able to get a slightly better deal than if your travel dates aren't quite as flexible.
Right. There's always been the tips about try to book your flight on an early Tuesday morning or use incognito mode so they can't track, how you're comparing prices on different flights. With AI now being used, does any of that matter?
I think it's going to be virtually impossible. If you look at Fetcher's website, one of the big things that they brag about is increasing variability of flight prices. So whereas before pricing might have varied a few times a day, they're looking at pricing varying by the nanosecond. So I think it is going to be increasingly difficult for consumers to outrun the computer, no matter if you're willing to wake up at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning and hang upside down and do whatever else you need to do to try to get a good deal on a flight.
This has got to be extremely frustrating. Okay, so before I let you go, any advice if I'm just the run-of-the-mill, average flyer, maybe I fly 2 times a year, is there anything I can do, or do I just have to suck this up?
I mean, look, booking in advance is going to be your best bet. With truly dynamic pricing, as the number of seats on the plane decreases, as supply is constrained, prices are going to go up. So the earlier you book, the better able you are going to be to take advantage of more seat options and better pricing.
Gotcha. Okay, well, book early, plan your trip, and just tell your family and friends reunion is happening on Saturday, regardless if they want you to be there or not.
Yeah, that works.
Right. Lindsay, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, when we come back, Ashley is going to look at your forewarned weather alert because of the extreme heat happening today. Plus, a live look over in Tampa this morning where they are dealing with record-breaking heat. They just hit a new record high, and guess what? It's lower than ours. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Let's take a look at some weather headlines across the area. Several states across the country saw some flooding this past weekend. This is Minnesota, where severe storms hit the area, causing a flash flood warning, which is still in effect until later today. Streets, as you can see, filled with water, becoming difficult for drivers to get through. Right now, thousands of people in that area are without power. Let's head over to Missouri, where you can see this video showing how quick the floodwaters came on Sunday during the weekend storms. Many neighborhoods are submerged after several inches of water came in. Crews spent the weekend doing water rescues and evacuating people from their homes.
Some of these people don't have a place to live now. I'm okay. It came up to my foundation, probably a little water under the house, which is no big deal. But, I watched them,
The governor has asked for a state of emergency following heavy floods in parts of that area near St. Louis. Now from the storms to the heat, a live look in Tampa, the city making history yesterday after hitting triple digits for the first time since records began 135 years ago. The previous record was 99 degrees, which was set on June 26th of 2020. According to the Weather Service, the city usually does not hit such high temps because they have a sea breeze and high winds. The heat is expected to continue throughout the week, with indices expected to exceed 110 degrees. Similar issues here at home as well with heat and humidity. Ashley has your complete forecast right now. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we are starting off this work week with a forewarned weather alert due to the high heat and humidity. In fact, a heat advisory has been issued for all of southeastern Michigan, and that is not set to lift until 10 o'clock this evening and really braces much of the lower peninsula. In fact, well, we're in good company when it comes to those heat alerts because they drape a good portion of the nation. So weather headlines. I mean, obviously the first and foremost, heat. 90s returning today. Good chance that we're back into the 90s tomorrow with those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. Now, we do have some isolated storm chances today and tomorrow, a little more prominent for your Tuesday, and that's why we are waiting to see if that heat advisory will get extended, because if we do get more of those storms popping tomorrow during the heat of the day, well, then that will hinder those temperatures from reaching the 90s and those triple-digit feels-like temperatures like today. But your hourly forecast for this afternoon, hanging tight in the 90s all the way through really the evening. 93 the forecasted high. By 10 o'clock we're still at about 84. Mostly sunny skies, but let's look at that heat index forecast because we will top out right around 100, closer to about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then tomorrow, this is a good illustration of what I'm talking about as to why there's still some uncertainty with whether or not we'll get a heat advisory tomorrow, because if we were to see showers and storms develop like this model would be picking up, that would drop those feels-like temperatures into the 70s and 80s. If we don't get that rain, well, then we're looking at 90s to right around 100 for those heat indices. So it's that uncertainty that just keeps us right on the cusp there. Here's an hour-by-hour look at the model data. So today's storms look to stay farther west, and they would be non-severe. And so that's why we don't anticipate that really impacting our afternoon highs. But tomorrow, 5 o'clock, well, now we have a little more activity in southeastern Michigan taking us through the evening, and that's why we have the chance of seeing those temperatures slide a bit. But for today, just plan for it to be in the 90s for that first pitch at Comerica Park. Tigers starting homestand with the Diamondbacks 6:40 first pitch, and we'll have a slight chance for a shower, but I think we dodge it. 84 by game's end. It'll be a warm and muggy one. Next weather maker will be this cold front, and so that'll bring us some relief finally. But before we get there, we do have rain chances midweek. So Wednesday, I think we have a better chance for more widespread shower and non-severe storm development. Thursday, bulk of this activity looks to just kind of hover right along the state line. So I'm not going to rule out a chance for a shower or storm to our south on Thursday, but most of us will be staying dry. We're peeling back those clouds, and the temperatures will be falling. Upper 70s for your Thursday and Friday. Low 80s is where we should be this time of year, so pretty seasonal Saturday and Sunday ahead. And we're going to pair that with some sunshine heading into the weekend.
Ashley, thank you so much. Well, is there something buried? I can just leave it right there. I'm kidding. Is there something buried near a major Detroit freeway that's worth preserving? Why crews are digging up part of the road today when we come back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, getting a live look over Michigan State University as that college faces big cuts following a $10.5 million cut in federal funding to its program SNAP Ed. The program helps people who get food stamps learn about eating healthy and exercise. Because of this funding loss, about 120 jobs at MSU could be cut. The university calling this a big blow to their efforts to keep Michigan kids and adults healthy. The union representing the workers is asking lawmakers to help bring that money back. Animal shelters across the country are seeing a huge rise in animals being surrendered. Many shelters say this is because of financial hardships. In recent years, pet care has become even more expensive. It's forcing some shelters to stop animal intake altogether. The American Humane Society says veterinarian shortages are also driving up the costs of pet care. Well, crews are setting up the orange barrels around Schweizer Place in downtown Detroit for an archaeological survey. This will close down 2 blocks of the road between Woodbridge and Atwater. Franklin will also be closed between St. Antoine and Rivard. Crews want to make sure they don't do anything important that could damage the area underground while they're trying to dig to see what's down there. This is going to be a sewer project. They're going to be removing pavement and excavating up to 20 feet. The survey is expected to wrap up by late August. Still ahead, we are trading up. We're going to talk with the Washtenaw County Community College president, the head one in charge. But a great opportunity to work with metal that can get you a great career when we come back.
Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. A live look over Ann Arbor right now. Extreme heat in the entire Metro Detroit area. Ashley is going to have your entire forecast here, talking about the heat and the humidity in just a moment. Also, a live look over Mount Clemens, where we're talking about the temperatures. Maybe a dip in the river could feel nice. Again, Ashley is coming here, not only talking about the heat and humidity, but some potential storms coming in just a moment as well. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I am Nick Monticelli. Some headlines of the morning, starting on Detroit's east side, where a child has been shot and killed in a drive-by shooting. Police searching for the person that pulled the trigger. This happened on Anglin Street near East McNichols last night. Priya Mann has the very latest on this investigation. Hey, Priya.
Detroit police are looking for the person or people responsible for this drive-by shooting where a stray bullet entered a home and killed a 6-year-old child. Let me show you video from late last night. This drive-by shooting happened on Anglin Street near East McNichols Road just before 11 p.m. Police say this was a drive-by shooting and they're looking for a black car and a red Jeep. There may have been a third vehicle involved as well. The shooting happened in a ShotSpotter neighborhood where police are notified immediately when there are gunshots. Police got to the scene within within minutes. Bullets went into that home on Anglin Street where a 6-year-old child was inside, and that little child did not survive. Take a listen to what the police chief had to say late last night.
Citizens of Detroit don't tolerate this, especially when it comes to babies, young people being shot. So I'm pretty sure that the tips will start to flow immediately to the person who did this, the persons involved. Do yourself a favor. If you didn't pull that trigger, you need to be telling us right now who did, because a baby is dead.
And we are waiting to learn more information about that young victim. Anyone with information on this drive-by shooting is asked to call Detroit police. I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
All right, Priya, thank you much. The man accused of killing his 13-year-old niece will be in front of a judge on a completely separate case today. Jarvis Butts is also charged in the sexual assault of a 12-year-old girl back in 2013. Now, we don't know too much about this case. We're hoping to learn some more today. Butts is awaiting trial for the murder of Neziah Harris, his ex-girlfriend's niece. He's accused of killing Harris after finding out she was pregnant with his child. Harris disappeared in January of 2024. She was never seen again. The trial is set to begin on Friday. Let's take a live look at the big board. The stock market opening about 2 minutes ago. It's a big week for investors as they get ready for more earnings and big tech earnings, a highly anticipated Fed meeting, and important trade talks. Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Apple are all set to report their earnings, and their news could shake up the market, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. Also happening this week, we're going to get the second quarter earnings from Ford and Stellantis, and the Fed meeting is on Wednesday. Well, we are talking trade up. This is a high demand, high opportunity. This trade up series is something that we like to do to highlight paths to success in the skilled trades fields. Now, you may have heard Forbes magazine recently reported there are more than 1 million unfilled skilled trade jobs nationwide. If welding might be of interest to you or somebody you know, federal officials say that more than 45,000 welding jobs are projected to open each year until 2033. New training for those jobs is one part of a discussion we are about to have with the president of Washtenaw Community College. She is joining me right here live in studio. Dr. Rose Blanket, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here.
These opportunities, we could talk about welding specifically, but skilled jobs, these skilled trades as a whole, something that our society kind of shunned away for a while.
Yes.
And it was a mistake, right?
A big mistake.
Right. And here's the thing, and I don't mean to disparage our higher ed institutions at all, but we always told, at least I was told, and I was telling my kids until I've learned differently, go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to do a 4-year degree. And now all these jobs have gone unfilled and we're in trouble.
Exactly.
We have a problem. So community colleges are a great opportunity because you can get training in those. Sometimes people even pay for it. You don't have to spend a dime.
Your employers might pay for it, actually.
Right.
And it is like the quickest way to earn and learn at the same time. But when you look at the wages, and they're higher wages than you would normally get.
What are we talking here?
Bachelor, well, average starting wage about, depending what it is, maybe about 40,000, 50. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good for a starting wage, right?
Look at what a teacher makes.
So exactly, and that's where they top out sometimes.
And so it's really an excellent wage. But you know, skilled trades, that's like a degree.
Right.
We're not talking about someone who just walks out of the door and picks up a hammer. No, we're talking about an individual that has been specifically trained in an occupation. And after, as a journeyman or after a certificate or a degree, after working, it is comparable to a degree.
Right. Well, and what's interesting too there is that, and again, no, I'm not disparaging anybody, but if you walk out the door of a 4-year with a bachelor's or you go on to get a master's, now you've got your diploma in hand, and now you're trying to figure out what your job is going to be. Your job is almost always guaranteed.
Absolutely. And well, let's not forget, skilled trades, these are brilliant people. We're talking skilled trades.
Yeah.
They're brilliant.
They can do things that I can't.
Oh, they can not only do it, they can think it, they can calculate it, they can, you know, I was in K-12 before I moved into the community college. And people would say, well, you know, this student's not doing well, let's put them in the trades program.
Right.
What? That's where they're, you know, you're going into manufacturing. That is geometry.
Right.
That is physics. That's math. I mean, these are very
smart
high.
people.
They're
Right.
very,
Yeah.
very smart people.
So let's go through some of the programs offered at Washtenaw, because
Yes.
you can learn, I mean, you've got it runs the gamut of skilled trades that you can learn.
Yes, we have everything. We have your traditional skilled trades, like you mentioned, welding, which, by the way, we are like the #1 school in the country in welding.
Now, you can tout yourself. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, we have welding, you know, we have HVAC, we have the advanced transportation, CNC, robotics, battery, EV, but the health, the IT, the cybersecurity, oh my God, you want a career of a lifetime, cybersecurity. I mean, there are so many opportunities at our college.
And that's considered a skilled trades then?
Yes.
Really?
Nursing is a skilled trades.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And then you can graduate community college with certifications, or your associate's degree most of the time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And many times and also like at our college, you could be part of this FAME program, which is the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Education, where the individual actually, to your point, works alongside of an employer.
Right.
And by the time they graduate or finish the program, they've had it paid for, and 9 times out of 10, they have the job.
Right, which is the hardest part.
Exactly. And the employer benefits because the employer gets to choose the employee right there on the job.
Yeah.
So they have, you know, a lot of insight that most of us don't have.
Why do you think it is that we were steering kids away from these types of jobs?
I think it's the fear of, you know, we have to make sure we don't use the same mindset today that we did to create this problem in the first place. I think it's a fear that people weren't getting enough, maybe there was a vacancy in teachers or something like that. And so we reacted by saying, oh, we need more of this. And
Just kind
so,
of funneling towards what the problem was. They were Band-Aid fixes.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. We're right in the middle of summer. I hate to say it's, you know, we're actually,
I know.
it's coming to an end already.
Very quickly.
If someone is watching this and say, you know what, maybe I do want more information, or I do want to join the welding program, or just get more info, when should they start having these discussions with your teams and counselors and admissions folks?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now. You call anytime. And not only now, we have courses starting all year.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
don't even, like, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you say, oh my God, I got to do something with my life.
Yeah.
Call us, because we'll make sure that you have the training and the job aligned for yourself.
Which is actually a very good point, because it seems like a lot of these programs don't follow the traditional schedule that school years do.
Right. No, we don't. We try to be affordable. We're flexible. Many people have to work. They have jobs already, or maybe families, or maybe we have to continually upgrade, upskill.
Your schedule, your curriculum,
right.
everything. Yeah.
So,
Producer Mary is telling me we're out of time. I do have one more question. I'm sorry, Mary. In terms of financial aid, if I having trouble paying for my tuition or the training programs, do you have people that I can call and say, help me figure this out?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, and we will make sure, so it is 24/7. Now, someone might not be there at 3 in the morning when you woke up thinking, I got to do something. But if you call, somebody's going to get that message and get back with you.
Awesome.
First thing in the morning. So,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Make Washtenaw Community College one of your destinations then. Doctor, thank you so much for being here. It was so great to meet you. Thank you. Okay, we are going to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to go to Lions training camp, where the team's new offensive coordinator just talked for the first time, revealing a very special guest in Allen Park today. You're looking live over Ford Field. Local 4 Live will come back in just a minute. Welcome back, 9:41 here on Monday morning on Local 4 Live. We are all in. The Lions preparing to play in that Hall of Fame game this week on Thursday right here on Local 4. This week is the second week of training camp, and we actually have already heard from the team's new offensive coordinator for the first time. John Morton just talked in Allen Park. Let's take a listen.
I'm excited today. Well, for a couple reasons. Tight red zone. We're in the red zone, scored touchdowns, which they've done an unbelievable job here scoring touchdowns. Top 5 in the league every year. But also just, this is our 7th day of install. So, we've put a lot on the guys here, and they've done an exceptional job. I mean, you do an install every day, that's a lot. You know what I mean? So, but I think it's going really well, and I'm really excited. I'm also excited, John Gruden's going to be here today, and he's been a big influence, mentor in my life. He's the one that got me started, and he's influenced a lot of other coaches too. So I'm excited for him to be here the next couple of days. So that being said, any questions?
Start with that. I had that written down. I actually just asked you about John and just the influence he's been both, coaching philosophy and, giving you a start.
Yeah. Yeah, he gave me my first start, as a coach. Al Davis is the one that first hired me. But John, when I got cut as a rookie in the Raiders, I went to Green Bay, for about 3 months. And John was the receiver coach there. So that's how I got to know him. And then they cut me and I went back to the Raiders. And then the following year, so when 5 years later, when John gets hired at the Raiders, I was actually working in personnel, so he asked me to come over. Hey, do you want to come over on the coaching side? So, yeah, me and David Shaw, we shared office together, and that's kind of how it started, man. So I'm real thankful that he wanted me to come over, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Just the whole aspect of everything about the game. John was like one, the West Coast offense, the Bill Walsh and the Mike Holmgrens of the world. He's the first one that kind of ventured off, still running the West Coast type of principles, but different formations, shifts, and motions and things like that. So it just opens your eyes to the whole aspect of, everything. I thought I knew football, but man, he just put me in a room, go do this, go do that. It was projects one after another, and just all of a sudden you start learning football. So it was really cool.
So, first of all, I want to say go Broncos to Western Michigan grads.
Nice.
Shout out to our school.
Yeah.
2 questions for you, man. I want to talk about specifically the relationship that you saw with Tashard Choice and Jameer Gibbs. How are they meshing along? And second of all, do you feel any pressure at all when you come into the program that's been like a well-oiled machine the last 3 years? And just continue to keep that production or even take it further to the next level? What's your thoughts on, is there any pressure or anything, or is it just?
Yeah, I don't feel pressure. The good thing is I was here a few years ago, so that helps a lot. So, a lot of these players knew who I am, and we're all still getting to know each other. This is my 27th year, so, you should always feel pressure, but I don't feel anxious or anything like that. I feel very confident. And so, we'll see how this goes. We're still in the process of all learning each other. Every day I'm learning about this guy, Jared, me and him. We're very close. We're talking. I want exactly what he wants. I want to make sure, when the season does start, we're not really thinking about a lot of stuff. So let's fix all the little problems right now. But as far as Gibbs and Choice, I think that's cool that now he's with his college coach. So there's a little comfort level right there for a player, and I think that helps.
John, we see some really good play from Hendon and Kyle. How much does that help your evaluation in the whole unit when your reserve organization?
Yeah, I think it's really good. Again, install every day. That's a lot. And I think they've handled it really well. Just the operation and everything, and making throws. Everything's kind of scripted right now. We've done a couple move the ball periods, and they've still done pretty well. So, and when we get in a preseason game, I'll have them highlight the plays that they like, and that's what I'll do. because I want them to feel comfortable. That's important.
John, it's been a week observing and watching your offense. What's one thing that's impressed you and one thing you'd really like to see get cleaned up this week?
The one thing that's impressed me is all these weapons. Man, I'm just trying to get the guy's balls, as much as I can. But I just think the overall, the grit, their attitude, because it's been hard mentally. I want to see where they're at, and they've responded. We got a smart, tough football team. That's the way this thing is built, and I'm real happy with where we're at right now.
All right, a lot from Lions training camp in the second week. In fact, we're going to have much more over on clickondetroit.com and later editions of Local 4 starting at 4 p.m. today. Also, we're just days away from seeing the Lions in some preseason action. That game, the Hall of Fame game in Canton against some guy named Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers. That game is going to be Thursday right here on Local 4 starting at 8 o'clock. When we come back, Ashley is back to track the heat on this forewarned weather day. And then this day in history, a moment that kickstarted a brand new industry. There's a hint, a casino right here in Detroit. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Let's head back in history now this morning. On this day back in 1999, the city of Detroit celebrating the first ever casino license that was ever issued in the city. Here's a live look at Motor City Casino. But on this day, the Michigan Gaming Control Board granted the first license actually to MGM Grand, kickstarting the casino industry in Detroit. The very next day, MGM opened its door in a temporary location, offering more than 2,300 slot machines and 80 table games. All right, you can see a live look there over Metro Airport right now. If you're trying to get away and beat the heat, you might have to go far across the country to do it. Hey, Ashley.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we are starting off this work week with a forewarned weather alert due to the high heat and humidity. In fact, a heat advisory has been issued for all of southeastern Michigan, and that is not set to lift until 10 o'clock this evening and really braces much of the lower peninsula. In fact, well, we're in good company when it comes to those heat alerts because they drape a good portion of the nation. So weather headlines. I mean, obviously the first and foremost, heat. 90s returning today. Good chance that we're back into the 90s tomorrow with those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. Now, we do have some isolated storm chances today and tomorrow, a little more prominent for your Tuesday, and that's why we are waiting to see if that heat advisory will get extended, because if we do get more of those storms popping tomorrow during the heat of the day, well, then that will hinder those temperatures from reaching the 90s and those triple-digit feels-like temperatures like today. But your hourly forecast for this afternoon hanging tight in the 90s all the way through really the evening. 93, the forecasted high. By 10 o'clock, we're still at about 84. Mostly sunny skies, but let's look at that heat index forecast because we will top out right around 100, closer to about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then tomorrow, this is a good illustration of what I'm talking about as to why there's still some uncertainty with whether or not we'll get a heat advisory tomorrow. Because if we were to see showers and storms develop like this model would be picking up, that would drop those feels like temperatures into the 70s and 80s. If we don't get that rain, well, then we're looking at 90s to right around 100 for those heat indices. So it's that uncertainty that just keeps us right on the cusp there. Here's an hour-by-hour look at the model data. So today's storms look to stay farther west, and they would be non-severe. And so that's why we don't anticipate that really impacting our afternoon highs. But tomorrow, 5 o'clock, well, now we have a little more activity in southeastern Michigan taking us through the evening, and that's why we have the chance of seeing those temperatures slide a bit. But for today, just plan for it to be in the 90s for that first pitch at Comerica Park. Tigers starting homestand with the Diamondbacks 6:40 first pitch, and we'll have a slight chance for a shower, but I think we dodge it. 84 by game's end. It'll be a warm and muggy one. Next weather maker will be this cold front, and so that'll bring us some relief finally. But before we get there, we do have rain chances midweek. So Wednesday, I think we have a better chance for more widespread shower and non-severe storm development. Thursday, bulk of this activity looks to just kind of hover right along the state line. So I'm not going to rule out a chance for a shower or storm to our south on Thursday, but most of us will be staying dry. We're peeling back those clouds, and the temperatures will be falling. Upper 70s for your Thursday and Friday. Low 80s is where we should be this time of year, so pretty seasonal Saturday and Sunday ahead. And we're going to pair that with some sunshine heading into the weekend.
All right, Ashley, thank you much. When we come back, we're going to show you the results of our poll of the day, asking what age is appropriate to get your kid a cell phone. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. All morning long, we have been talking about this. How old is too young to get your kid a cell phone? A new survey just came out saying anything before 13 had a negative impact on kids' mental health. So we asked you, how old do you think they should be to get a cell phone? The results kind of mixed in two different areas. 47% said the ages of 12 to 14. 40% said the ages of 10 to 12, and then only 13% said ages of 8 to 10. In fact, we also got some comments on social media. Delta Kimmel in Taylor said a smartwatch is a better choice for the 10 to 12 range. It allows for parental contact, but still limits social media. Nathan M. in Royal Oak says, we let our son get the Apple Watch in middle school, which is great for communicating with us and his friends. I assume he'll get a cell phone in high school. Definitely want that navigation for when he starts driving. And then Brittany P. of Warren says, I personally did not have a phone until 16. My kids, 8 and 6, have learning tablets and will not be getting a cell phone until they're at least 14 or 15 years old. Oh, so much more coming out here throughout the day on Local 4. In fact, the one who lights up my Monday, Tati, is here from IDD. How old do you think?
You know, I think there are a lot of different options.
Yep.
There are these Disney phones. Are you familiar with them?
Heard about the, yes.
So you've got programmed in there mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, and that's it.
Right.
911, the school.
Yep.
So I think that there are a lot of different options for different ages because now there's this crazy sense of feeling like you have to be connected.
That's the challenge, that there's so much peer pressure around everything, is that, you know, we got our daughter a phone because she was doing dance, and sometimes dance was running late or they got out early and we needed that communication.
Yeah.
But then later it became, well, you know, I'm missing out on the group chats, like my friends are texting and I don't know what's going on.
Which might not be a good thing because there's also cyberbullying that goes on with that. But now let me ask you this. Do you feel like you should be able to monitor all of those text messages?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I'm paying that bill.
That's right.
And I'm the dad, so absolutely. Producer Mary's already yelling at me. We have like 30 seconds left.
30 seconds, live in the D. We've got a great What's the Buzz conversation coming up, talking about how younger people are approaching the workplace and how they are prioritizing work-life balance over anything else. And of course, it's Music Monday. We've got some incredible sounds of jazz coming up, so it's going to be a great show.
I will say sometimes I envy the younger generations because they're prioritizing life before work, and we need to be doing it.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Live in the D starts in 1 hour and 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm getting it. Local 4 Plus, always live on the digital side of things. And the news is always live on clickondetroit.com. Make it a great Monday, everybody.